Joining us right now is JoJo and Jussie Smollett, both in Chicago. Gentlemen, glad to have you here. First of all, have you communicated with your brother in the last 24 hours? If so, how's he doing?
Yeah, we've had a chance to speak with him a little bit, and you know he's strong. He knows what's up against him. We've known what's been up against us for the last 3 years. They should have never gotten this far. And we're all very angry. He's angry, but he's very strong, and he knows that he needs to stay focused and do what he needs to do.
He walked out of that courtroom saying that if I wanted to lie, or if this actually didn't happen, I would have said so. He made it clear that what he has said from the beginning did indeed happen, that he did not make up this incident.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, it makes complete sense. I mean, at this point, he's spent tons of money on legal expenses defending his name. He's had the media completely just rip his name and his brand and everything he's worked for his entire life right from under him. It would be a lot easier if he did do this to just admit it and then move on with his life, move on and continue his craft and let the work speak for itself. But he didn't do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was convicted of a very low-level felony. It would have been easier for him to just take the L and say, oh, well, you know, I'm pleading to something that really doesn't mean much, you know, and but he didn't do it. You know, he had the integrity to fight and to clear his name. You know, if you review the transcripts in this case, you are literally looking at a judge and a prosecution that you don't necessarily find a distinction between. There's a point in time where you're just sometimes sitting back, are they part of the same law firm? Yeah. The judge and the prosecution. And to begin with, you know, I understand the prosecutors and the judges, they have their individual responsibilities and their jobs to pursue. And I think, though, that if you look at the amount of so-called evidence, they're like, oh, a plethora of evidence, oh, a lot of evidence, overwhelming evidence. I'm like, look, I'm not just saying this because I am his brother, but what evidence can someone describe to me, still to this day, what evidence? They showed us hours upon hours of Jussie supposedly circling around the city of Chicago, driving in his vehicle. Never got out of the vehicle. They say, oh, this is where they practice the dry run. Well, those of us that grew up in LA, you know, you live around actors and you hear about rehearsals and dry runs. They never got out of the car. You never see them get out of the car and participate in an actual dry run. The idea that the check was $3,500, which is standard, you know, amount that you pay to two guys who are, you know, you are confident are pretty good personal trainers. All right. These two individuals say that he was paying this for them to go participate in a crime. For a man, one of the brothers actually has a bachelor's in microbiology. The other has a master's degree in finance. So answer for me why in Chicago, with a master's in finance and a bachelor's in microbiology, the only employment opportunity you have available is to split $3,500 while risking your freedom. But no one questions that. Don't just like, oh, Jussie's ridiculous. Why would he pay $3,500? And if you're going to commit a crime, all right, those of us who have been around the streets enough know no one's going to commit a crime being paid only $3,500.
But how do you respond?
Right?
There's so many. But how do you respond to this? There's so many people. I mean, I have seen the social media reaction. I can tell you what people have said to me personally. What I've heard. I lived 6 years in Chicago. There are so many people who are like, "Yo, he did it. He's guilty." And I mean, the number of people, even African American people, were calling in yesterday. I've seen commenting saying, "No, you know, he needs to pay for this." How do you deal with that when so many people, black, white, doesn't matter, are against your brother and they say he did it?
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, the first thing that people need to remember is Anthony Moore is your reasonable doubt. Anthony Moore is your reasonable doubt. Anthony Moore is your reasonable doubt. Anthony Moore saw white folks running with a noose in their back pocket, and he was told to essentially change his story by the prosecution. Anthony Moore is your reasonable doubt. And it's really a shame that the media has really spun this in a way. I mean, if you go back to 2019 and you study the way the media spun this, it's not a surprise that folks have bought into this. Because if you look at it at face value, it's I wouldn't say it's easy to believe, but it's if you're not critically thinking, which a lot of folks aren't in this situation. It's just being frank. If you're not critically thinking, if you're not looking at the records, if you're not understanding, one of the jurors was quoted in an article saying they don't understand why Jussie would do this. That's reasonable doubt. There is no reason why he would do this. There's literally not one piece of concrete evidence. There's not one piece of text message. There's not a phone call. There's nothing directly linking Jussie to saying, I want you to plan an attack on me.
Nothing.
There's not even anything. There's not even a zoom in on a camera of showing them talking about something that looks like they're talking about an attack.
If you listen to the media representation, all right, media representation, you would be convinced, not having seen the evidence or lack of evidence, you would be convinced that they have this smoking gun somewhere, all right, that just proves beyond a reasonable doubt. There is nothing that is verifiable. You have no recordings. You have no written. They are literally, this is a he said, she said case.
Got it.
They made it out to be, oh, we have all this evidence. They have no recordings, no video, audio, no written evidence of anything. It is just the testimony of two individuals that the police department got to say, all right, and I don't know why they did this, but the police department at the 47th hour of interrogation, which are only allowed 48 hours to hold someone and interrogate them in Chicago, in Cook County, they in the 47th hour decided that this was their story and they were going to stick to it. I don't know the details behind it. I don't know what caused it, but I do know that in this nation that we live in, our system, okay, of democracy is not only dependent upon who we elect to president. It's also individual cases and decisions like this where you see things fall apart. You know, I'm not a lawyer, okay, so I'm a layman.
Well, I trust me. I got 3 lawyers waiting on my legal panel to talk about the legal aspect.
Yeah. But for me, and this is one thing that it's subject to interpretation, I'm sure. But the Sixth Amendment guarantees for swift trial, and the fact that I sat there in front of the judge yesterday and pleaded with him to provide leniency to my brother 3 years after the crime, the low-level crime that he's alleged to have committed, when I saw ABA, the American Bar Association, suggestions that people who are not detained should be from indictment to sentencing only 180 days. It's been 1,100 days for Jussie, all right? And one of the reasons I'm bringing this up is because the problem with not having a speedy and swift trial, that you build up this momentum and this mob mentality in community that they get to put things out before they even go to court. So you poison the pool of potential jurors.
Got it.
There is no way you could tell me that in 2 months ago, when they picked a jury, that almost 3 years after this case, large celebrity here on a big TV show that was filmed in Chicago, no one heard about that case that was on that jury? You're going to tell me that jury had not been already kind of purged with this perception of what had really happened?
Keep in mind, there were people who also said they were not aware of the OJ case, and so that did happen. I do want to ask just a couple of more questions before I go to my legal panel, and that is, a lot of people have talked about that. The judge even alluded to this. His career's over. He's destroyed it. So many of you, obviously, in your family are in the entertainment business. Y'all were standing by his side. Speak to that in terms of this notion that there's nowhere for him to go. Forget it. That's it. It's all over.
His career is not over. It is far from over. His career is not over, and folks will the test of time will just prove that. You know, our brother is an unbelievably talented individual. He's unbelievably smart. He's unbelievably creative, and ultimately, he's just going to focus on the work at this point. Our society at large has turned his back on him, and he just needs to focus on the work. And he's talented. He will be fine in the long run. The judge should be absolutely ashamed of himself of how he chastised our brother. He said he was the butt of comedians' jokes. He literally went on had to be at least a 15-minute spree of just completely chastising him, saying that he was arrogant, he was narcissistic. It's just ridiculous. It's like, what? This is not what judges are supposed to do. You are not some parent figure to lecture our brother on what he did. Give him the sentence and let it be over with.
He said things that 15-year-olds on social media online know not to say to shame people nowadays. All right. And, you know, one other thing that I'd like to say is there's multiple parts to this. Okay. There's whether or not you think Jussie committed a crime or not, you have to admit that this crime that he's being alleged to have committed is not even considered a felony in most states in America. Yet he is standing behind bars for 150 days when there are people in this country that advocated, rooted for, especially right-wing extremists, who rooted for Jussie because of the demographics that he represents to go to prison, yet they claimed that they could understand the legal technicalities that acquitted Kyle Rittenhouse when he's on video footage shooting 2 American protesters and he gets no jail time, not even a day. All right. But they understood the legal technicalities for that. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because when we're sentencing people and convicting people, and we're allowing our legal system to become a weapon to be used to criminalize people that are part of marginalized groups, we have to think twice about it. So it doesn't matter to me if a lot of black and brown people, a lot of people in the urban inner cities that understand the corruption and the brutality and the things that go on in the inner cities and are still set on believing the police, what they released to the press and what the press ran with before Jussie even got a chance to argue in his own favor, that's fine. If you want to go that route and you want to believe everything you were told and you don't believe what Jussie says, I get it. All right. You think he's guilty, but at least have the audacity and the strength to admit that in this day and time, when we are even seeing Republicans supporting criminal justice reform, that we should definitely be standing for criminal justice reform, definitely in the way of not allowing this massive incarceration. We incarcerate more nonviolent criminals in America than anywhere else in the world, and we call ourselves the freest land on earth. That is a discrepancy that we have to correct. And if you are 100% believing that Jussie's guilty, there's no reason that you should believe that he should be getting jail time right now.
Joe and Jacques Smollett, gentlemen, I appreciate you joining us on the show and sharing your thoughts and perspective.
Thanks for having us. And I just want to say, man, I'm not easily starstruck, but it's been an honor to be here with you today. I really respect you and appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so very much, gentlemen. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, man.
Back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punching!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way. Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Wow. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?